Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today I've got something a little different and maybe exciting for the Ortur users. I've got the new Ortur YRC chuck roller. And I'm sure that a lot of you Ortur users are going to be very excited to see this video because you're so used to using that YRR accessory, which I think just about everybody hates. So anyway, let's jump straight into the video today and let's get this thing tested, see how well it does. Let's go. All right, so what we see here is the assembly. Now this thing was 95% assembled, 98% assembled out of the box. The only thing that you need to do is assemble the jaws. Now here I'm assembling the step jaws. Each one of them gets 2 bolts, and on the right side there you'll see that they have the other set of jaws. And now coming back to real time, I'm going to test this out. And it is real easy to open and close. Just spin it like that. Put your item in. I'm going to go all the way on the inside with this one. Tighten it down. Now you can tighten this down by hand, but they do give you the 2 little arms. And I'm sorry about that little weird noise in the background. I had something from the military, a little cadence stuck in my head, and I was sort of like whispering it to myself. But anyway, you can use these little assistants, I guess, whatever they're called, lock bars, whatever, and lock it in place. But yeah, that's just how easy it is. It also comes with a nice little level, so you can get it level. And there you go. That's it. The whole assembly. So this is one of the great features about a chuck rotary, is that you can flip the chuck over to the other side. And this, even though it has a heavy aluminum base, all you have to do is put something on top of it, something below it, something on top of it to hold it down. And now you can do, mugs. And I'm sure you all know this already. A little trick that I've learned using rotaries, chuck rotaries, is that put the cup onto the rotary, tighten it down as tight as you can get. Right now you see it's pushed back, and then push the cup back onto the rotary and get it level, so that when you turn it, you'll see that it turns perfectly, and there's no wobble in the mug. These mugs in particular, these ceramic mugs are extremely heavy, and that is a little trick that I've learned with the rotary tools, the chuck rotaries, is that if you tighten it first into the jaws on the inside and then push it in by hand until you get it perfect, then you're going to get a perfect engraving. And these these step jaws that it comes with are real nice plastic that holds the cup in place very well. So that's one of the really good benefits of using a chuck rotary. And now, just to go one step further, I don't know if you can actually see this in the video, but these actually taper out in the middle and they come out. So I like these steps right here. You see how that tapers out? It tapers out in the middle and comes up. So that gives you a little extra hold. And I don't know if that's done by design or not, but it does give you extra hold when you're doing coffee mugs or tumblers. And here is the final product. Now I just had to throw this in here because I got this new little round spinny thing, so I figured I'd throw this in here. Beautiful roller accessory. I really like this one. They did a great job on it. You have the little holder on the end, that will hold your tumbler up, or whatever it is that you've got in there right now. It's holding up that wooden dowel. And yeah, so I had to just show you this little roundabout thing that I got. Don't know what it's called, but whatever. There it is. All set, ready to roll. All right, so I wanted to talk about these A and B adapters that it comes with. There is no instruction in the manual what these are for. It looks like the cable that comes with the roller fits on every Laser Master machine according to the instructions, but these are some sort of adapters, and they're pretty common with most of the lasers on the in the industry. And you'll see that on this side they're opposite wired. See where the reds are next to each other? On this side, down here, if I turn this plug around, they're also opposite wired, and that's the way it would plug in right there. So you'll see that actually they're not opposite wired. They're almost the same except for the two in the middle. So if you plug these in, both in the same way, this is how they plug in on the other side, and they're two different adapters. So I'm guessing that these two are being used for other manufacturers. I don't know, because they didn't include it in the instructions. The instructions were very vague. But if you look at the instructions, you'll see that it only shows this cable that comes with the chuck rotary being plugged into an Ortur product. So I'm just taking a wild guess here that these guys are adapters for other lasers. You just have to check your pinout. All right, so this is the Ortur or Ferro Laser 2. Don't you love those names? And let me show you what I've done. I do have the 10-watt laser module on here, so I do have that board on the side that I still haven't powered up. I didn't want to have the noise during this video. So I have gone and positioned the roller, the chuck roller, in the middle of the laser bed. I've moved the gantry to the spot that I want it to be, which is directly centered over the laser before powering up the laser. And that is now my home position. I have gone and unplugged the Y-axis over here on the left side and plugged this in to the cord that goes to the chuck roller. And on this side, I have unplugged the other Y stepper motor, as you can see here. And this machine has two Y stepper motors. So if your machine happens to have two Y stepper motors, you'll have to unplug both and use just one of them for the chuck roller. And that's it so far on the setup. I just wanted to show you how I raised this for the chuck. And a lot of people ask, they come up with all kinds of ideas and 3D print things and everything else. I just use a couple of 4x4s that I have laying around, and it is the perfect height, as you can see right there. It clears the entire roller accessory. It clears any roller accessory. So a couple of 4x4s will do the trick. And if you wanted to, you could even put like a little pin down in here, like a push pin on all four corners to hold it down, or whatever. You really don't need to hold it down because it's only going to be moving left and right. So that is the total setup, and now we're going to get ready to get into the software setup. Okay, now we're in Lightburn, and I have got everything set up, and I want to show you what I did for the setup. So up here you can see in the rotary setup the green light. And I'm going to click on rotary setup now and show you what I did in here. So the first thing I did was enable the rotary right here. The second thing I did was I selected chuck because that's what we're using today. Third thing I did was make sure that I was on the Y-axis because this is a Y-axis chuck. And the fourth thing that I did was set the millimeters per rotation. And I really haven't gone much further than this yet. And the reason why is because we're going to actually do this one live. We're going to do the calibration on it. Now, I'm assuming that it's probably, I think they said 120 in the owner's manual, but I'm thinking that it's probably 128 millimeters per rotation. And I did go ahead and put in the object diameter. So the object diameter in this case is a wooden dowel. It is 50.1 millimeters, which gives me a circumference of 157.394 millimeters. And look, I have a hard time seeing this screen because I'm on the laptop in the other shop. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this. So for now I'm going to close this, and we're going to come over here to the camera. I'm going to pick my camera. Let's see, I think it is the USB camera, and there we go. And that is the chuck roller, as you can see there. So now what I'm going to do, I have gone ahead and I made a little line right here with an ink pen, and that's my first step, just to test it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test all of my settings that I put in here. And now I haven't, this doesn't apply to anything that's on the screen over here yet. I'm just doing the test. So I'm going to hit test. And you're going to see that it looks like it's making a full rotation. So that looks like a full rotation to me on that camera. So I'm going to say OK. And I'm noting this, which I've already done. I'm noting this 157.394 circumference. That is the height that my test bar needs to be, my test rectangle. And if you look up here, you'll see 157.394. I've made it 3 millimeters wide. So it doesn't matter now where I put this on the screen, because on the laser tab, I have gone into user origin over here. And with the user origin, I'm going to use the bottom left, and this way the laser will start exactly where it's positioned. It's not going to spin around to the other side. It's not going to do any spinning whatsoever. It will just start exactly where it is, and that's what I want to happen. So I am now ready. Let's bring out the camera. I'm ready to run my very first test, and I'll make this a little bit bigger. And the USB camera doesn't have a great focus. Sorry about that. But this is pretty much, maybe it needs to be a little wider. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That seems to be, we'll leave it right there. So we're going to come to the laser, and I'm going to start this job. Now I'm going to take a second to go and plug in the module, because I do have the 10 watt on the Orfero laser too. So that needs to have its own power supply in order to work. And it is quite loud. Now I'm just going to take a second look and make sure that that laser is directly in the center of that wooden block there. And I'm going to run my first test. So if we come over to cuts and layers, what I'm going to do is bring this layer up. I'm going to go, I guess about 2500, and I'll do a max power of 35. Inline mode, 1 pass. And that should give me a good enough burn so that we can check our line and see if it connects. So let's give it a shot. Let's go ahead and run this job. Let's frame it first. And that looks like it's framing pretty well. It looks like it almost made it all the way around. I think we're going to be close. All right, and if you want to know how I got it so slow, I changed the speed over here on the Move tab to 1000 so that it runs slowly in the framing process. All right, let's go ahead and hit start, and let's see what we get live. Okay, so now I need to take a look at it and see where we're at. And if I roll this down just a little bit, I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I can bring the camera in a little bit closer. It looks like we went too far. It's not going to focus on that, but here you can see, let me get my pen. The line is up here and the other line is down here. So we've overshot the, maybe Ortur was correct when they said 120, because we overshot that burn. So the next thing that I'm going to do is just move this over slightly like that, and I'm going to come back to the computer now, and in the computer we've got to come back to our roller setup, and hey, maybe they were right when they said 120. So we're going to go 120, and I probably should have used this in the first place. And we're going to say okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to run this job again. So now we overshot, we went too far, the rectangle wrapped over itself, so we lowered the number in the millimeters per rotation. And let's hit frame again. That looks like it's going to be in the right spot. That looks good. And we will go ahead and hit the start button. And let's see what we get now. Okay, folks, that is absolute precision. Would you look at that? I don't know if you can really see that. I'm going to take a photograph of this and show it to you, but this line right here is absolutely perfect at 120. So Ortur was correct. The steps per millimeter is going to be 120. So there you have it. Very easy setup. I'm going to run a couple of jobs now, and we'll wrap up this this video. All right, so now I've got my product here. This is what I'm going to be burning. I'm going to put this on a tool path. So I'm going to come down here and put this on a tool path. And the reason why is because I want to burn this cat at about 50 millimeters, using about 50 millimeters of that wooden rod that you see there. So let me get rid of that camera because we're not using that one anymore. There we go. So now what I'm going to do with this unlocked up here, I'm going to go ahead and make this 50 millimeters wide and press enter. Now that is the space on the dowel that I can now place this cat. And I believe that we're going to have to turn this sideways. So I'll press the comma key, and here's where we're going to find out. You know, we're doing this all for the first time. So, you know, this is live. So what we want to do is make sure that that cat, we're going to lock it this time with the cat selected. And we're going to change the width to 48 like that. And actually we don't really even need this anymore because we don't really need this here. It's just a guide if we were putting more objects inside of here. So I will go ahead and delete that. And now we have just the cat left. So we know that the cat's going to fit because it's 48 millimeters wide, and that's the amount of space that we want to use. So let's jump to the cuts and layers. Let's go ahead and set this up. This is the 10 watt Ortur. So I'm going to run this, being that this cat has lots of little tiny lines in here. I'm not going to run it too fast. I'm going to stick at about 2,500 millimeters per minute, and I'm going to change the max power to, I think I'm going to put it at 50% power. And we're going to do this one in fill mode. like so. So now if we come and take a preview of this, you'll see that that is exactly what we're expecting to burn on the rotary and nothing else. And that looks good. So I'm going to say OK to that. Come to the laser tab and I'm going to go ahead and hit start. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the other camera, a better camera, not the one the webcam that I use, and I'm going to record this. So I'm going to hit start and bring up the other camera right now. All right, so I made a little note. I don't know if you saw it earlier or not, but when I did the rotary setup, I forgot to tick off mirror image. So you see that when this started, it started from the opposite side. It didn't start from the left side. So yeah, my mistake. I forgot to tick off that mirror image. So remember, you got to tick off mirror image for this to work right. And you're going to see the problem later in the video when I do the pen. It's going to come out backwards. Well, whatever. All right, so there we have it. The first test. Let's see what we get. And that is just amazing. Beautiful, beautiful job. Now I want you to note, this was my top dead center, that line that I drew right there. So I used the bottom left as my origin. And by using the bottom left means that it's going to run, it's going to start and run all the way up to the top. If I use the bottom center, which I'll do on the next one, which will be a pencil, then this line would be perfectly in the middle. So I would know that it would start right directly in the middle. But for this one, I used the bottom left. And I got to tell you, that is a beautiful engraving on the Ortur Orfero Laser 2. I got to laugh every time I say that. But beautiful engraving on a cylinder, exactly where it's supposed to be. This was the easiest setup I've ever done for a roller accessory. All right, so we're going to switch gears now. I was going to do a pencil, but I couldn't find one, so we're going to do a bamboo pen instead. And I'm going to make this very simple. I'm just going to do the Louisiana Hobby Guy in text. I already know that the pencil is 11 millimeters, so I'm going to put that diameter at 11 millimeters. I'm going to disregard this number down here this time because I want this to fit a certain way. I know this is going to burn just like you see here on the screen, and I don't want it to be any wider than 50 millimeters. So I have 50 millimeters of space between the little pocket clip and the tip. So I'm going to just change the width in here to 50 and press enter. And that is the size that I need right there. Over here, I've changed the user from bottom left to center right there. And yeah, now when you use anything but top left, bottom left, if you use the center, it's going to spin around. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the center, but it will engrave in the right place. So I'm going to put the job origin right here at the center. It will do its little spinning thing. And I'm going to hit frame, and then I'm going to hit start. I've already come in here to my cuts and layers, and I've changed the speed and the power to what I think is appropriate for the bamboo. And I'll just say OK to that, and we are ready to get started. So I will switch to the other camera, we'll frame it, we'll start the job, and see what we get. All right, so I've got the jaws on here, or the ring holders, I guess you call it, which can hold any small object. And I've lined up where I think is going to be the right spot, and I'm going to frame it now and test it and see if I got it in the right spot before I start the job. So here we go. There's our little spinny thing, and that dot looks just about perfect right there. Wow. Okay, so that's a 1 in a million. Got it on the first try. Let's go ahead and start this burn. and I have every confidence that it's going to come out well. So we're going to find out in a minute. It should be exactly where I want it. The only thing, you know what, I forgot to do is mirror it. So I'm thinking that this might come out backwards because I've got it sideways. We're going to find out in a second. Oh, well, let's see. It sure did. It came out backwards. But hey, you know what? That's okay. This was to show you what I did wrong was I didn't, being that we're going sideways, I didn't, but it did come out right. Let's take a look, see if I can get it to focus. It's just backwards, but it is in the perfect position because I wanted it to be just south of this pocket holder right here. So, except for the fact that I forgot to mirror it on the screen, came out perfect. But what can you do? You're always going to have little mistakes here and there, but you can see that that's a really nice engraving, perfectly positioned, and worked really well with this ring holders right here. So yeah, another success, even though I did it backwards. All right, so let me show you what I did wrong. So you see that that's correct. I forgot to mirror the output. I actually closed and restarted Lightburn because I had to run another job for someone else. And in the rotary setup, when I came back to this, I forgot to tick this off right here, mirror output to rotary. So that was my error, and that's why it came out backwards. I forgot to mirror it. So yeah. These things happen. Hey, you know, if I had that ticked off, it would have came out perfect, but I didn't. So there you go. User error again. So there you go. A new roller accessory that ticks all of the boxes of, yeah, you know, this is what I need to do tumblers. This is what I need to do round objects. I love the little box that came with it. This little accessory box. Everything stays neat and tidy. You don't lose any parts. You don't have to have another, keep the original box or anything like that. I just really like this particular roller. It works well. And I will say that prior to this coming out, I was a fan of the RA2 as well. So that I thought was the best roller on the market. Now, well, I got to say that this one's easier to use. It doesn't have the incorporated regular roller accessory, but you don't need it. As far as I'm concerned, using a chuck roller, well, you're going to get the best roll for your money. I've always had so much problems. There's always been a custom setup with almost every other roller accessory where you have to keep the roller from walking left or right. And it didn't matter how perfectly level you got the item, it would still walk in one direction or the other at some point in time, and you'd mess up, you know, one of your items. And the beauty of the chuck roller is that it cannot walk. So once you've got it set up, if you've set it up properly, that item is not going to walk on you. So I like the fact that it's got the two different sets of jaws. I like the fact that the jaws have a little upturn on them on the end. I like the fact that they're a lot more sturdy than what I'm used to. You can tighten it down really well, and that it's a perfect roll. There's no wobble in it whatsoever. Now that I must say that I can't seem to get perfect on the RA2. The jaws are just softer, I guess is the right word for it. So when you tighten it down, you can get it perfect. It just takes a bunch of time. This one is much faster to get the item perfect and holds better, in my opinion. So I don't know what else to say about it. It's all metal, heavy. It's very heavy. I didn't have a single problem with it at all, as opposed to the YRR that I had tons of problems with, and I had to create workarounds. And if you watch that video on using the YRR, you'll know that there are 2 or maybe even 3 different ways that roller accessory has to be set up. This one was just so easy. I went in, I put the number in, I did the line calibration and got my final number, and that was it. And it just worked. So, and that, I like to see that. And it seems like, the technology for these diode lasers is advancing. And that's a great thing because, I love my diode lasers. And everybody that's ever had one loves it as well. And even when you move up to a CO2, you're still going to be using your diode lasers for certain projects. So this is just in time with all the new innovation that's going on this year. I'm glad that they came out with it. I'm glad that they're doing some R&D and creating new products. I hope they come out with that 20-watt module that they announced last year. Then they announced they weren't coming out with it. Well, I hope they follow that up and come out with that 20-watt module, because that would be even better. Now, I'm not particularly a fan of the 20-watt modules. I think that a 10-watt module is going to do everything that you want it to do, and it's got the right spot size, but that's just my opinion. A lot of people are fans of the 20-watt, and I'm actually surrounded by them right now. So doing the Battle of the 20 Watts video. But I had to squeeze this video in between just because it's so exciting to have this new chuck roller. But anyway, there you go. The Ortur chuck roller, brand new, priced right, and it's under $200. I'll put links down below the video. Click on Show More, where you can go and buy it. It's only available in one place right now as of this video. So I'm sure in the future it'll be available on Ortur's website and all of the other websites out there. But as of right now, it's only available on one website, and the link will be down below the video. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video today as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, I thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.